Going once again, this is Jose Trujillo. I'm a fine art artist, I'm a painter, and I'm coming to you from a corner of my art studio here to show you something awesome. Today I'm also painting with my awesome trusted palette knife, and I'm going to be doing a landscape, well not a landscape, but a woodland with some tree trunks and all kinds of fun. So check it out, okay? Here we go. So with I don't know, for those of you who haven't noticed, for me, painting has more to do with color. I made a mess out of it. But nevertheless, let's keep going. The show must go on, guys. Okay, so those of you who don't know, I use color more than, for those of you who haven't seen my work, I'm more into color. I try to create my, whatever I'm seeing, more through the use of color than necessarily form. Sorry guys. So you'll see a lot of that here. Now if you're using palette knife, if you're looking at this and you're like, oh man, this guy cakes it in there. You want to do that if you're using palette knife. There's other techniques, there's other ways of doing it, but this is how I do it. And in order to get this effect that you're seeing that I'm doing, it comes down to that. It comes down to, you got to be generous with the paint. Well, that's why a lot of people don't like to paint with palettes, because of that reason. They don't want to spend, I guess, so much with paint. But I don't know. I guess if you're, if you're already at that mode, yeah, I have I've heard from artists that even I've used that line myself. Like, oh, paint is so expensive. I used to use that type of line. It is, but it is what it is, right? That's the price that's the market price. Whatever you use. So you're already in the game. You're already in the game. Might as well have fun. Might as well have fun with it. All right. Sometimes when you change instruments, for example, I go from palette knife to brush, you might still be in brush mode. So it takes a little bit again to get back to getting immersed in palette knife. Sometimes it takes me a little bit. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I just jump right through from one to the other one, from one instrument to another with ease. But as you saw right now, when I dropped the painting, I feel like that was part of it. changing instruments. Now, there's no tricks. I know some artists. If for example, if they do a little twist on the palette or something, they create leaves, and they're very good at that. That's awesome if you learn how to do that. But I'm not really interested in that kind of stuff, and not because I look, down upon it or whatever. Everybody paints however they paint. But the reason why is because I believe you have to tackle each tree differently. You see, you can paint the same landscape 1,000 times. I believe this. You can paint the same landscape 1,000 times, but every time you paint it, you have to. Well, not that you have to, but you realize that there's something different, and there's a different approach that you can do, so that it doesn't necessarily come out rehearsed all the time. It could be the same landscape. You yourself could be growing. You could change instruments. You could use a thin brush, a thick brush, a palette knife, a small palette knife, a large palette knife. So the landscape will look different every time, regardless of whether you painted it 1,000 times. Just because you painted 1,000 times doesn't mean that, I mastered that landscape. No, you didn't. According to me, right? No, you didn't. You're mastering yourself. That landscape is always going to be evergreen, ever new. If the same landscape looks old, I believe you haven't painted it enough. You have to paint it enough to the point where every time you get to it, it looks new. It looks like a new approach. It looks like something new you can do to it. Something you haven't seen. That's my view anyway, son. If every time, when I'm going to paint, the landscape looks the same way, then I haven't painted it enough. This was a bit of a different approach that you can do with it. And you can see that with painters that have made a huge impact now in the art. You can see that with the most recognizable names. You can see how. I was watching a little documentary on YouTube the other day about how Velázquez, when he started maturing in his artwork, how he went more. People like to call that commercial, but I don't think he was. They weren't saying that in the documentary. But if Velázquez was born, if he was alive today, people would be like, "Oh, he became more commercial." But I don't think that was. They were trying to explain how he became more abstract, but in an almost very sure of himself, very, very sure of what he was doing, because the maturity was there. But the subject, even though he was painting the same portraits of the people, not only did the subject change, but the way that he painted them changed. And I thought that was really cool. Inevitably, right? If you're a career artist, inevitably, that it's going to look different. Always. This is a little 8 by 8 inches canvas board. But, I say little, but who knows what little is anymore. I've seen some artists do paintings of this little canvases, smaller than this. All right, guys. I just wanted to show you a little oil painting with some woods. Let me put a little background that way you guys can see what it looks like, because I feel like it got lost in the background there of the board. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and till next time. Bye bye.